Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special live session here that we're doing on Zoom. Really appreciate you all being here. I'm excited to talk about this topic because I think it's really important this time of the year. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of jump right into my PowerPoint here. Give me a moment to set this up and share my screen, and we will get underway here. All right, I assume everybody can see that nice and big on the screen, right? All right, very cool. So I'm calling this three simple ways to reignite your 2025 goals. Three simple steps, you might say, or categories to reignite your 2025 goals. You might be thinking to yourself, well, geez, Bob, you just went through this whole thing this last month. It was January. Everybody's in that New Year's resolution frame of mind. It seems like an odd time, maybe, to be doing this, but I don't think so. Because here we are in February, and we're a little over a week into February. And I don't know about you, but sometimes people can lose steam even this early in the year. You probably heard those stories about the gyms being packed in January, right? And then right about mid-February, they start to thin out, and then, pretty soon they're back to normal. So that's what we're going to be covering today is these three simple things that you can do to reignite your goals and, just invigorate your enthusiasm. Real quick, I just want to let you know a little bit about this guy who's taking you through this journey today. Most of you already know a lot about who I am and what I do, but just really quickly, it's all going to be squeezed on this one slide here. A lot of you, actually, the only way that I got the word out about this is through my email list and then through the calendar on our online community called the High Vibe Tribe. So I didn't post this publicly at all. You had to be on my list and are connected to me in some way to get the word about this. So I know how the people on this list, how they know about me. So it's probably either mostly my YouTube channel, where I've been doing affirmations for the last several years. And there I am holding the 100,000 plaque they sent me a few years ago. And when you hit 100,000 subscribers, they will send you a silver plaque. I'm now up at like 408,000 subscribers. So the channel has continued to grow. Yay. Or you might know me through the Affirmation Meditation podcast, where I've taken that audio content and just repurposed it as an audio podcast that's available in Spotify and Apple Music and wherever podcasts are delivered. You may know me through my books. I published like 16 physical paperback books over the last 30 plus years, and then a lot of other things in digital formats, like the Passion Principles, the Empowered Artist. Early on in my career, back in the 90s, my original brand or identity online was music marketing for independent musicians. And speaking of that photo right above the Guerrilla Music Marketing Handbook is one of the albums that I put out with my wife, Pookie Lee. That's our soul massage album. A photo her daughter took on the beach in Kona. That was a while back, though. We still look just the same, right? But yeah, I've been a long time musician. And then that little image on the bottom left represents Hay House, which for the past year or so, I've had an affiliation with Hay House, which is the publishing company founded by Louise Hay. And people like Wayne Dyer and Abraham Hicks, Joe Dispenza, all these people are published by Hay House, and they're running my affirmations now in their subscription app, which is called Empower You. So that's just a little bit about my background. There's some other stuff here that I may touch on as we go along, but I've done a lot of things, and I've done a lot of cool things, accomplished a lot of things. Therefore, I've had to set and take steps toward achieving goals. And so I'd like to think I bring a lot of wisdom to this topic. So let's kind of jump right into it. And by the way, I'm going to be presenting for quite a while here in the early going, but there will be opportunities for Q&A a little bit later. So you can maybe jot those questions down. And then when it comes to that time, you can start popping them in the comments. And then I'll even have some of you unmute and come in and speak. We'll have some conversations, especially towards the end. So hang around, probably go at least 60 minutes or more here. So hang in there as long as you can. But those Q&A opportunities to ask me some specific questions will be a little bit towards the end. So write those things down. And if they're not addressed by the time we get there, we will talk about them then. All right, here we go. So first of all, let's just talk about goals. I believe it's always good to have one, what we call a big, bold, bodacious goal. And don't let those alliteration B words scare you. Big, bold, and bodacious is just kind of a phrase that my wife and I came up with, but they don't have to be extravagant necessarily. But I think you should always have at least one primary thing that you're moving towards. And I got the little line there that says there's rare exceptions. If you're on a sabbatical, if you're coming back from a health or dealing with a health challenge or some crisis in your family, certainly there are legitimate reasons here and there to put things in the back burner. But those are rare. And I think people come up with these excuses of, oh, I'm just a little too busy right now. I think for the most part, not excluding some of those really serious, rare exceptions, I think we're all in a position where we can at least be taking some baby steps toward a primary goal. And so don't have 10 of them or 5 of them at one time. Have one primary one that you're working toward at any given time. I think that's kind of one of the approaches that I've taken with my own life. Goals can be all over the map, from big things to just something that you're going to get out into the public, where others you're just doing on your own. So this is just a list of possibilities. It could be to write a book, start a podcast. Maybe you've always wanted to act in a play, release a music album if you're a musician or a songwriter. It could be to start or grow a YouTube channel. And on a more personal level, maybe, these next 3 are definitely ones that I come in and out of. You might want to lose weight or get into a regular exercise routine, make healthy food choices on a more regular basis. Or maybe you want to start a meditation practice and do it consistently instead of here and there. Maybe you want to learn a new language, a new skill. So any of these and many more are things that can be your primary goal, your big, bold, bodacious goal. And so, what is that for you? Actually, you go ahead and throw that in the comments. If there's one primary thing that you've maybe been putting off or been wanting to do, put that in the comments and maybe I'll check in on it just a little bit. Let me know where your head's at. Or if you're not sure, put that in there too. But I have a feeling most of you know what that thing is. It might be on this list. It might be something else. Could be relationship related, have a stronger relationship with your kids, your parents, your grandparents, whatever, there's so many ways that you can do this. So let's go right into step 1. So step 1 is really to reevaluate your goals. So the title of this is 3 simple ways to reignite your 2025 goals. So I'm assuming that maybe you set some in January. Maybe you didn't. There's some people that are like, I don't set goals. I have my own method of doing these things. But you don't have to do this only in February. You can do this at any time of the year, but we're talking about this time of the year. So reevaluate your goals and ask yourself, is this still important to me? You should always be checking in with yourself too. How am I feeling about this? Do you still want to make this goal a priority? Hopefully, yes. But if it is yes, then remind yourself of your reasons why. Like, what were the original reasons that you went to do this? Obviously, if they're health-related goals, it's your longevity. The reasons you want to improve your health is because you want to get through life without being in pain or feeling uncomfortable or without being a burden to your family. Because without your health, none of those other goals really matter. So remind yourself of those reasons why and see if you can develop some emotion around that that's going to fuel you and reinvigorate your movement toward them. If it's things like writing a book or getting on a podcast or YouTube channel or whatever, the reason you're doing it is because you have an important message to share, even though we often downplay the gifts that we have. So what's the reason you want to share this message? There are people out there right now who would love to hear the message, the story, the experience that you have to share with them, especially if it's some sort of a challenge that you overcame. They would love to hear from you. So you're denying the world your gifts, even if it's a small audience, by holding this back to yourself. So remind yourself of the reasons why. If you still want to make this a priority, then lean into it and do that. But if you answer the question with, I'm not really sure, then we need to admit this too. But then you replace it. What is your new big bodacious goal? Maybe it's a similar goal with a different aspect to it. Maybe you tweak it. And life is always a series of fine-tuning things as you go. I don't believe goals should be set in stone, or the path to get there in particular should be set in stone. Having that specific endpoint gets you moving in a direction, and as you go and interact with people, you get new information, and sometimes it takes you in a direction you never anticipated, but you never would have discovered that new opportunity had you never taken a first step to begin with, right? So if no, make sure it's a no, and then what will replace it, or what's the new way of approaching this thing. I'm going to tell you a story here quickly about improv for business. I'm going to go ahead and stop my sharing for just a second here. And some of you know that I first did improv. like in 1985, back when I was in my 20s. I was kind of in and out of it. I formed different groups, and I just always loved this art form. Like if you've ever seen the show Whose Line Is It Anyway? That's improv. And then being a musician, I also kind of specialize in musical improv. So about 10 or 12 years ago, though, I started teaching it here in St. Louis and really got involved in the local improv community. And then that led to me interviewing Laura Hall, the piano player from Whose Line Is It Anyway? I interviewed her on a podcast several years ago. We kind of got to know each other and ended up writing a book together called The Improv Comedy Musician. And she's back on tour there's four members from Whose Line that are touring now all over the country, and she's touring with them, playing the piano and all that. So she's still, even though the show's no longer active, they're still performing it live at different performing arts centers. Anyway, so I basically teach classes for newcomers and beginners just wanting to learn about it. But there was this time several years ago where I thought to myself, oh, I could make a lot more. I saw an opportunity because I knew there were people in improv that did improv for business, and they went into corporations where they have more money to spend. I thought this as an opportunity could be a more lucrative way to share this art form that I'm passionate about. And so I was going, okay, I'm going to go all in pursuing improv for business. And I started planting seeds and meeting with people and testing it out. And after a few months of doing it, it just wasn't resonating with me. Like I was questioning whether this was really what I wanted to do. I wasn't really getting a great response back from people. And I'm going to touch on this in a minute. I'm going to recommend a book to check out if you're dealing with this too. Should I continue with this or should I bail on it, and put my focus into something that I'm not struggling as much with? Because sometimes we can give up too early. But I decided that, you know what? This improv for business is just not my wheelhouse right now. And maybe it never will be. So I'm going to go back to what I was doing. And then everything was fine. I do really well with classes, and I get a lot of people showing up for my current shows that I'm doing. Got one coming up in the middle of March in St. Louis for those of you in the area. So that was a good lesson for me on, yeah, you have to admit sometimes this is not working out, even though I was excited about it. And maybe I thought it was, the money aspect of it was the thing that was drawing me in when my heart wasn't into dealing with the corporate types. Let's see here. I'm just going to see if anybody left any comments here when I asked about my primary goal. Stephanie says become a teacher. Oh, on the Insight Timer app. Yeah, you probably know Stephanie. I've been on Insight Timer for several years, and yeah, it's cool because you can pretty much anybody, I think, unless they've changed the rules, can start uploading things there, and then you can make money if you get a lot of views too. But focus more maybe on developing the content and the audience first, and then the money will come. D says finding balance and prioritizing my goals currently. And then Yvonne says to continue strengthening my spiritual growth. So on all those things, and then Mary says to become a certified life coach and then be an intuitive life coach for others. So I would be more as specific as you can be. And I know you're doing this in a quick Zoom chat, so you may have more clarity than you're indicating there. But so define, what does continue strengthening my spiritual growth mean to you? Break it down into specific measurable things that you can do. Does that involve meditating 15 minutes every morning? So you got to get it down into that more specific level eventually. But so awesome. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen here. And I just want to share with you, there's a book that Seth Godin wrote years ago called The Dip, a little book that teaches you when to quit and when to stick. I think I have a copy of that, but it's been a while. I don't remember all the details of it. So I'm just going to give you an overview and maybe suggest that you get the book, get it out of the library, or you can find books on YouTube that summarize it too, if you just want a quick course. But see that blue image there where there's a hill on the left and then it dips down and then it rises up higher on the right? That's kind of demonstrates what the book is about. Here's someone who has taken the concepts in it and made it more, but basically, when you start off on a new goal, you're really excited about it. There's a lot of energy. You're all in. And so there's this sort of, there's a lot of energy. So that hill on the left indicates that. But at some point, sometimes it's soon, sometimes it takes a while, that initial honeymoon phase wears off and your enthusiasm wanes, and then there's a dip there. You reach some challenges and you're like questioning things and you're going, oh my God, I didn't know this was going to be so hard. But then you keep moving forward and maybe the dip even gets lower. It's at that point where you got to make a decision. Do I stick with this or do I quit? Do I give up? And I guess that's what this book gives you, some tools on how to make those decisions. But a lot of people give up in the dip, and the dip always happens. And so you got to determine for yourself, is this just a challenge I'm facing, or is this something that I should continue to move forward, keeping in mind the big picture. If you've ever heard, there's a podcast that calls How I Built This, hosted by Guy Raz. It's amazing, where he interviews these CEOs of these well-known companies that you've heard of, and just all of the ups and downs and the struggles, and they were on the verge of bankruptcy and this and that. How they came so close to the edge and they pulled it back. And then they eventually rise, though, if you push through that and it's meant to be, you rise way above and achieve mastery or significance, or, where you are reaching a lot of people or whatever the goal, is. And so, yeah, I would check out that book, because there are times when you can stop beating your head against the wall. Maybe it is time to do something else that wasn't meant to be. And then there's other times when pushing through it is beneficial. All right. So there you go. All right. That was step one. Thank you, dear. Pookie just brought me a fresh cup of coffee. Thank you so much. So step one was basically is more mental. It's more like getting clear in your head of what the goal is, really being clear about your why. And it can being yourself like mentally psyched up and just having clarity on what you're doing. Hmm. Step two now, we're going to involve other people. Step one was more of an internal process. Step two is going to be more of an external process, where you're going to get the support that will propel you. As I tell you, I'm a DIY guy through and through. I believe in self-reliance. It's a trait that's really helped me. I never wanted to wait around for permission or, go through rejection letters or emails or whatever. So I just, I did this countless times throughout my life. I started my own music newspaper instead of, trying to write freelance articles for other existing publications. Instead of trying to get it, in my shows at comedy venues, I created my own events. I still do that to this day, where I find a venue that has a nice setup for it, and they are happy to have me bring in a show and a crowd. I create my own opportunities. It served me well. However, you can't do this all alone. You need the support of the people that you serve and partnering with others. But let's just talk about some ways that you can get that support from people. So you've heard this before. Spend time with positive people who get you, like who understand you. That's a really important thing. These people get me and will encourage you. That photo there that Lisa Shepard is responding to was taken almost a year ago. And I think Dee's here as well. There may be others. This was taken in Florida. We had like a mini retreat with the members of our High Vibe Tribe. It's our online community. And there's Pookie and I. That's Lisa, just to the right of Pookie there. And then Deanne, who I think is here, is on the far right there. But look at those smiling faces. We definitely were hanging out with people who got each other, and we're encouraging each other. But in your life, hopefully your family and your friends are supportive of what you do, and they, are enthusiastic or at least accepting of the goals that you have chosen in the life that you've chosen to pursue. But many people don't. There are people that have, whether it's a sibling or a parent or whatever, or friends, who try to keep you small. Well, you're never going to do that. Who do you think you are doing that? And that's unfortunate. And so one way to reignite your goals is to make sure you're getting positive feedback from other human beings. So ask yourself, who are the 5 people that I spend the most time with? Make a list of those people and then rate them. How supportive are they? How positive are they? I was talking about what's wrong in the world. Not that you have to be Pollyanna, just everything's rainbows and unicorns, but hang around with people that are going to lift you up and fuel that journey, and gravitate toward people. Identify those people in your life, in your circle, who you probably could be spending a little bit more time with. You encourage them, they encourage you. It's a beautiful thing. So there's different ways of doing this. And I hope you're taking notes throughout this, because these are really important things. So you could do this with individuals or groups. Let's talk about individuals. Meet people like for coffee, just if they're local, for breakfast or lunch, and you may have to say, hey, I want to treat you to lunch. Now, these people fall into different types of categories. They may be people that you've known for a long time. Maybe you have an artist or some kind of a creative friend who's doing cool stuff. You've known them for years, but it's been years since you've met. Reach out to them. Hey, it's been a long time. Especially if you view them as someone who would be supportive, because you have a history with them, even though it's been a while since you've connected. Hey, can I treat you to a coffee, to breakfast, or can we meet sometime? And that can be really awesome. Actually, Pookie, my wife, was in Hawaii, where her mom and her sister live, for like 3.5 weeks, through most of January. She was gone. And then we had a lot of ice and snow here. So I was like cooped up in the house with the dog a lot. So I was purposely looking for reasons to get out of the house and meet with people. And just, I was doing this outreach more than I usually do. And it was wonderful. Reconnected with people. And you can also, if you have people that maybe you've communicated with online who you have never met in person, but they just seem like you're viewing them on Facebook or somewhere and they look like they're doing cool things, reach out and go, hey, I enjoyed our interactions. Can we meet, in person? And they may say yes, they may say no, but it doesn't hurt to ask. And so just try to get out and meet with people who are doing, especially if they're doing stuff that you aspire to do. Now, don't ask them to pick their brains. That sounds very painful. So I would not use that phrase. It's a common one. And there's some people who just you don't like go into it just wanting to make a new friend, and not like if there's somebody that normally charges for consulting work, you don't know them very well, don't be surprised if they say, well, I can only do that for a fee or whatever, because people can't meet with everyone who asks. But just kind of keep that stuff in mind. Maybe reach out to people that are on a similar level as you, maybe just a step or two ahead, and you know who those people are. Make a list of them and start reaching out and meeting these folks. Another thing with individuals is you can find what's called, we like to call them a success partner. It's also commonly known as an accountability partner, but this is a person that you meet with like maybe once a week. You decide the frequency at least once a week, and you just connect with each other and you share your goals. Here's what happened since the last time we talked. Here's what I'm planning to do this week. And this can be hugely impactful, especially if you know you're going to be having a call with your partner, on a Friday or whatever, and you're behind. You're going to be more likely to make some progress so you can report your progress to your friend. This is a very supportive type of thing. You're not beating each other up, but you're there to be each other's cheerleader. This can be a really powerful thing if you have identified an individual that you can do that with. Both partners have to be willing in this process and show up for each other. But it can be very powerful. And if you feel like you've been disconnected with people that are supporting you, search meetup.com for your area for groups that meet in person on your specific topic, and get out and start interacting with people. You're going to feel awkward at first when you first walk into the meeting. It's like, oh my God, you're going to feel out of place. But by the time you leave that first meeting, you probably would have made some new friends. You're going to feel more comfortable the next time. It's going to be worth it. So just push through whatever fear or hesitation that you have. And then there are also online versions like we're doing now. This is an online gathering around a similar topic. I mean, you're all, I guess, are fans of my work and affirmations and mindset stuff, but also you were attracted because of the topic here. And so this is an online community in a way. So you can seek these things out on sites like meetup.com. There's Facebook groups and all kinds of things that you can seek out and join an existing one. Or if you've really got the motivation to do so, you could start one, especially if you can't find what you're looking for. Start a group and lead it, whether it's in person or online. Especially if you have like a really specific niche that's not really being served, you could be the new leader of this thing. Imagine all the benefits that would come your way if you did that. And there's a thing we did just with our recent program that we did. That's a screenshot of that. Let's see here. I'm going to tell you real quickly about my experience with this. Each of these steps has a story from my own personal life. There is a photo of me from several years ago. I was speaking at a meeting of the St. Louis Publishers Association here in St. Louis. But let me break with the screen share for just a second and tell you. So in 2003, 20 some odd years ago, I think I had 3 books out at the time. Maybe I was working on a 4th one. And I was an author just working out of my home. I rarely rubbed elbows with other authors or people pursuing book publishing. I had some friends online that I would email and communicate with. I knew there were other authors in St. Louis, rarely spoke to them. And a friend of mine kept telling me about this organization called the St. Louis Publishers Association that was really a group for authors. And so I went to my first meeting in 2003, and it was amazing because there was this whole room of people I never even knew existed. Either they had published a book or they were working on a book, but everybody was there for a common mission to publish the book. They had an idea. They wanted to get out into the world. This was amazing. And I kept going to meetings, and before you know it, I guess because I already had books out, pretty quickly I was on the board like the next year as vice president. I mean, I just kind of shot up there, and then I became president and ended up being the president of that off and on for several years. And that was a great experience because I not only got to lead and mentor people, but I just learned so much. I made so many connections in the book world and made so many friends through that. But it was just a great experience. It led to so many opportunities. It doesn't mean you're going to be on the board necessarily when you go to a meeting, but just that whole sense of like, these are like-minded, these are my peeps. I found my peeps here. And you could do that in person or online. And I ended up speaking at these national book conferences because I was the president, and I started teaching and doing workshops, and that led to other opportunities. And then I got quoted in Publishers Weekly, for some like taking that independent route. It's a big trade publication. Ended up going to Book Expo America, where I got to meet Louise Hay, who you now founded Hay House, on one of those trips. So there's so many like ripple effects, things I never knew would come as a result of just attending a meeting. It's that first thing. You just never know what those things are going to lead to. And so that's my story about just putting yourself out there and rubbing elbows with like-minded people. So let's see here. Before I go on to step 3, I want to tell you about something that is kind of new and I'm pretty excited about. This is the beginning. This is the top of a web page that I just literally created last week. It's kind of a new offering. Some of you may have seen it. I know at least one of you have. But I was going to read this to you real quick and then tell you a little bit more about it. It says, are you ready to stop spinning your wheels, start making real progress? No matter how determined or motivated you are, we all hit roadblocks. Sometimes the missing piece isn't more effort, it's getting the right kind of support. Imagine having someone in your corner to bounce ideas off of, cheer you on, and offer personalized advice rooted in real-world experience. So do any of these describe you? You have a great idea for a book, podcast, or YouTube channel, but you're kind of stuck figuring out how to start. Or that passion project that you've been dreaming about for years keeps getting pushed aside. It's on I like to call it a perpetual back burner, and you're finally ready to step up and make it a priority. Or you know what you need to do to hit your health, business, relationship goals, whatever that is, but you're just struggling to take action. You've gotten buying all those books we talked about earlier, but they're kind of just sitting there, right? This is a common one. You're great at brainstorming ideas. You're great at starting projects, but following through on them to completion, well, that's another story. And so we've created something that involves the awesome Lisa Shepard. So Lisa Shepard is someone who has been working with us for well over 2 years now. And she started off as a fan who was like always sharing my stuff. And she just was doing this at a time when I was like thinking I would love to find someone to help us out and help us grow what we're doing. And she was always sharing my stuff. I said, Lisa, let's get on Zoom. I just want to find out who this person is sharing all my stuff. What's your story? And then she ended up being the perfect fit. So go ahead and unmute yourself there, Lisa. She's in
Good
Southern
morning.
Oregon. Hi there, Lisa.
Hello.
Yeah, are you enjoying the presentation so far?
I am, yes.
Can you
I'm
relate to
loving it.
some of that stuff? Yeah.
Oh, completely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things that Lisa has, she's kind of like our public face. Like she's involved with comments, approving comments on YouTube, and she's kind of like in a more traditional setting. She'd be called the community manager because she's interacting with the public a lot. But we call her the head honcho of helpfulness. It was a phrase I just randomly blurted out, and we all liked it so
I
much
love
it's
it.
kind of stuck, right? Lisa keeps expanding her role and what she's doing, and so we had this program recently. It was called 21 Days to Rock Solid Confidence as a Purpose-Driven Creator. It's basically, it was a 3-week program to get people to step up and start sharing their gifts online more, something I've been doing for a long time. And a lot of people are just really hesitant about it. So we created this program, and one of the things that we did kind of for the time that we've done this is we had these what we call success pods. Instead of just teaming up with one person, they were groups of however many. And Lisa was facilitating these. And I just wanted her to share a little bit of, whoops, she just leaned out of the picture there. But she
I'm still here.
facilitated these things. And I just wanted you to share a little bit about what your experience was for yourself, leading them, how it impacted even because you were playing along. You were posting things every day too. And some of the
Yes,
experiences that the people in your pod had. Yeah, just what was that experience like? Just meeting, yeah, you gave people like 2 or 3 options a week, and so some people could make some and not
yes,
others. There was like 2 or 3 of you at a time, but just share a little bit about,
correct.
yeah, about how that went.
It went really well. In the beginning, it's always interesting trying to get everybody's schedule aligned for the calls because I like to have everyone there at the same time. But once we were all able to connect and meet up in our pods, it was amazing. And, there's always that first call or first two calls where you're just getting to know each other. And, there's that little bit of awkwardness, but it doesn't take long before that goes away and dissipates. And everybody's got different goals, but we've all got goals. And the point of this last program was building confidence and getting your content out there. And so I was very encouraging to everyone in our group and including myself to get your face out there. Just get started. Put something out, get your face out there. I know it's uncomfortable and it's scary and it's intimidating. And it was for me in the beginning too. But the more you do it, the less the eek factor is. That's kind of what I call it. You kind of get that physical anxiety of, oh my goodness, this is so scary. And once you start doing it, it's easier to push through that.
Yeah.
And, it was so wonderful for me as the facilitator to have this group of people in the beginning where half of them were completely against putting their voice or their face out there. And I get it. I totally get it. And by the end of our group, our program, they were all putting their faces and their voices out there. And to watch it go from just a goal to them actively working toward that goal and being passionate and excited and not so eek. It was an amazing experience for me as a facilitator to get to witness this growth. And it also helps me. It causes me to be more confident and to be more consistent as well. But
Yeah.
it's such an honor to get to be part of that process.
Yeah, because so I wasn't involved in those pod calls, but we had weekly Zoom calls like we're doing here now, where I got to hear some of the progress reports. And yeah, I know some of those folks, they started off like, I don't even know what I'm doing. But by the end, they were like, hey, I got it out there. It feels good, And so it's amazing when you see people have breakthroughs like that and make progress. So hang tight there, Lisa. Go ahead and mute yourself, and I'm going to keep you there. I'm just going to go back to my screen share, tell you couple more things about this, and then we'll move on to, you want to stick around for step 3? Especially the last thing I'm going to talk about in step 3 is the sneaky 5-minute trick. You want to stick around for that. It's really powerful. But so basically, yeah, I guess I should have shown this photo first. But that's like 30 minutes after we met Lisa for the first time in Florida, we took this photo. So basically what we're doing is Lisa, with this new thing that we're doing, that page that I just showed you here, and there's more information on it, and I'll link to it in a moment here. But basically, you can set up a call with Lisa, who you just met, for like 20 minutes, where she's going to explore your goals. It's a free call. You get on the call with Lisa. She'll ask you about your goals, your challenges, your next steps, and she'll ask you a bunch of questions, and get to know you. And then based on your budget and your specific needs, or maybe she'll get back to me and we'll recommend one or more of the following. There could be, certainly there are books and courses and programs that I've created that might be ideally suited for you based on your particular situation. We like this partner pod thing so much that we want to have it being like an ongoing thing that different people can join when it's right for them. And so there could be a success partner accountability pod led by Lisa. There could be that one-on-one coaching with me in my areas of expertise, or mentoring with me might be the thing that's right for you. Or there's certainly things that my wife Pookie is better suited to address depending again on your specific situation or issue. It could be coaching or support from Pookie. And so the whole basis of this, again, is just to find out where you're at, what you're doing, and how what we can do can best serve you. And there's options for every budget, from $100 to thousands. So, and everything in between. So we like to think there's something for every budget here. And so I really want you to consider doing this. Get on the phone with Lisa. She doesn't bite, no hard sell or anything. And if you're interested in at least exploring this, because here's the thing, I got tons of stuff out on YouTube. You can consume my content for free. There's the YouTube videos, the podcast. I mean, I've been blogging for decades. You can purchase one of my books. That's great, but I want more and more to be able to really have a more intimate impact with people. When you're ready to have other people involved in this and have us support you in a more personal way, this is the ideal situation. Anyway, so how to set up your free call with Lisa. There's three things that you can do here. If you know, yeah, this is cool, you can actually post your contact info in the chat. And if you know how to do this, you can actually send it as a private Zoom message to Lisa specifically. So if you don't want to have your information public. And so go ahead and do that now if that speaks to you. And if you're in the US in particular, you can put a phone number. We have ways of reaching you by text as well, but put either or both an email or a phone number in the chat or a private message to Lisa. She's going to be grabbing those during the call. It'll give you a lot of different options here. Or you can send a quick text message with that information to that number right there, 314-246-9516. Or visit bobbakerinspiration.com/help, where you can read that entire page. And then there's a form that you can fill out and submit it. And so I hope that that speaks to you. Go ahead and do it now while you're thinking about it. All right. Because we'd like to be able to help you on a deeper level if we can. All right. You ready to go on to step 3? This is good. And so step 1, again, was the mental part of it. It's like more of an internal process, getting clarity, getting emotion, getting your why together. Step 2 was interacting with other people, which is so crucial, whether it's in a group setting, partner, meeting people for lunch, so it's very much an exterior thing of involves other humans. And in step 3, which is really, really important, is create an environment for success. What do I mean by that? Well, and so a lot of times this work that we do is we might say our affirmations. You might even, write something in a journal, but then you put the journal down and you forget about it until the next morning or the next time you pick up the journal. So it's like this, you do the thing and then you get away from it and you're thrown into your normal routine. Well, I think it helps to have physical reminders in your physical space. And so put post-it notes with affirmations like all over your house or wherever you frequent, bathroom mirror, your computer, the refrigerator, the dashboard of your car. Put reminders of the goal that and your why. Post them everywhere where you can see them. You're probably familiar with vision boards too, where you take, magazines and clip out photos and text that represent the things that you're aspiring to, and you put that in a prominent place of your house. So create an environment, a physical environment that will support you and remind you of the goal of this important thing that you're pursuing. Because we get easily distracted, right? And so maybe just doing morning affirmations once a day, that could be very helpful. A lot of you have said it's changed your life, which is great, but what more can you do to just keep you in that mode, to keep you leaning into your purpose and your mission? And so, yes, create physical things in your environment that are going to support you. Also, this is really important, remove the friction. And so really when it comes to success at these things and movement towards your goals comes down to developing new behaviors and new habits that you do on a consistent basis. And it doesn't have to be huge. I've said this repeatedly. You don't have to have hours and hours of time. Sometimes just 10, 15 minutes a day consistently can make a world of difference. And the compound interest of those activities over time, you'd be amazed at how much progress you can make. So you need to develop a regular habit, but there are things that come up that cause friction to keep us from doing that. And so the main way to remove the friction and help you develop habits, there's 3 things. There's time, space, and tools. Ooh. So on the time scale, actually carve out areas of your calendar where you devote to this thing, whatever that primary big bodacious goal is. You know what type of activities are involved in moving toward it. You doesn't have to have a big 3-hour segment necessarily. 30 minutes or less. Where in your schedule can you make that a regular thing? Of course, things come up, but if it's not on your calendar, it really doesn't exist. You've probably been guilty of, oh yeah, I want to do this thing, and I'll kind of squeeze in time here and there when I can find it. Those times never happen, right? And so put it on your calendar, make it a priority. If you have kids and you need to pick them up at school at 3 o'clock every afternoon, you just don't I'll get around to it if I can. No, they're not going to leave them stranded there. That's important, right? So give yourself the same priority when it comes to this mission that you're on. And maybe it's daily. Maybe you get up earlier in the morning. Maybe it's 3 times a week. I like daily if you can, because it's reminding you, it's creating a habit. This is important. And even if you only have 5 minutes to sit down and work on something, it's training you like this is important. I'm developing this thing and it will grow over time. So you need the time, space, and tools. So, and this is where, depending on what the goal is, What kind of space do you need to create? Is it a desk with a laptop? Is it a table with art supplies? Do you have a coffee shop that you like to go to work on this thing? Where is the space that you're going to spend time on it? If it's meditation, is there a meditation room, a workout room, or a place where at least you have weights or a yoga mat or whatever? So now we're getting into the tools. The tools would be a yoga mat. It would be the weights. It would be paintbrushes. Where's the space that this is going to take place? And what are the tools you're going to need to use and make sure that they are readily available. Now, here's a photo of Pookie used to have this space in a mall here that she no longer has. And there was a period. So I don't know if you know this about me, but I've been a visual artist. I do acrylic paintings, but I kind of go in and out of it. Admittedly, it's the thing that's the lowest on my list of activities. But like back in 2012, Pookie encouraged me. I hadn't painted in years, and it was my birthday in summer of 2012. And she says, "You should paint. You should get out your art." And I said, "Okay, I'm going to do that." And it kind of awakened in me. I reinvigorated this whole art, and for several years, I was really into painting and showing my work and all this stuff. And this isn't our home, but this is a space out in the mall where I had my stuff set up, and I was painting out there for a while. That's all of my art on the wall there. But I remember in the early days of this, so when I first started doing this, to paint, I had to clear off the dining room table. And then I had to get like a tarp and throw it over the table so I didn't get paint stains on it. Then I had to pull out all my paints and my brushes and arrange them on the table and get the jars and the canvas and all this stuff. And it was a lot of work just to get to the point where I could start painting. And so that caused a lot of friction, and I wasn't painting much at all. I just like it's just oh, I don't have the time to set all that stuff up, and then you got to tear it down at the end. So what we ended up doing was we found a little space in the basement, set up a table, and that was my art spot where all my stuff was laid out, kind of like it was in that photo that I showed you, even though that wasn't our home. But I did it a home version of that in a smaller space, and so it was really easy. When I got the urge to paint, I went down there, all the stuff was ready. My tools were there. I didn't have to rearrange the furniture to get started. And so, how does that apply to you? How can you create a space and the tools so that when you're ready to create, you're ready to work on this thing, you can get right to it? All right. So, it's time, space, and tools. And so, I really want to encourage you to do that. All right. Let's see here where we are. I think we're almost there. Oh, here we go. Now it's use the sneaky 5 minute trick. This isn't really necessarily as an environmental thing, but this is one of my best tips I can give you for being productive. So, all right. So you got all this stuff going. You got the mental stuff. You're clear on your vision. You know your why. You're interacting with people. You got the stuff on your calendar. You've done all these things, right? And you're moving along. Now, does that mean everything's going to be smooth sailing? Well, I think it'll be a lot smoother than probably what you're doing now. But there will be times when you're not feeling it. It's time that time when the calendar's coming, or you have a deadline for an art show or whatever it is. There's an editor waiting for the latest version of your manuscript, whatever it is, and you're not gonna feel it. There are gonna be distractions that happen, right? And so, what do you do? Well, here's something that I learned years ago about myself that is really effective. And I just told myself, I don't feel like doing this. I'm probably not going to get very far with it, but I'm just going to spend 5 minutes working on this thing. For years, it was a 10-year period where I published a local music newspaper that had deadlines because they were advertisers who were counting on the paper being on the street the first of the month. And so I couldn't just wait for the muse to strike. And then I worked for 4.5 years in the corporate world, internal communications, where I also was working on deadlines. And that was really, I think, great training for me because I had to write whether I felt like it or not. But there were times when I was just like, oh, I just don't feel like writing this article. I go, okay, I'm just going to work for 5 minutes. All right. I sit there looking at the blank screen. I type out some lame sentence, another lame sentence. And then an idea hits me. Oh, wait. Oh, this is an interesting way to, and I would type in the other thing that's like, oh, this would be a kind of fun opening. Okay, I'm gonna delete those first two sentences, but this new thing, okay. Now before you know it, you're like in the flow, and an hour has gone by, and yet I do this all the time. Where I'm just gonna open up something, or even work on a new song or whatever. I'm just gonna pick up the guitar and just see what happens, and then all of a sudden I'm in the flow, and ideas are coming, and an hour has gone by. And so use that sneaky trick to trick yourself into doing things when you don't feel like it. I can't guarantee that's going to happen every time, but just get in the habit of doing the work, just sitting down. Sometimes acting will bring the inspiration and the flow and the creativity. You just kind of like a rusty pump or well, once you start it, it's a little cranky at first. But after a while, or pretty soon, you might find yourself that it starts to flow. So I hope that helps you. And I love this. That's one of my most powerful tips for you today. We're going to go into Q&A mode here in a moment. But so here we are. So I'm just going to refresh 3 simple ways to reignite your 2025 goals. One is to reevaluate your goals, focus on your why. You have clarity. Make sure this is still something that's important to you. Don't give up on it too early. But also don't hang on to something just because out of stubbornness sometimes. And maybe check out Seth Godin's book, The Dip, or summary of it. Get the support that will propel you. Gravitate toward people that are positive, that will inspire you, that will uplift you. Seek out groups, existing groups, and check out our own, the opportunities that we have. And then create an environment for success. Make sure things are on your calendar. Make sure you have a space and the tools readily available for when it's time for you to sit down and work on that thing. So those are my 3 simple, I like to think of them as simple ways, but hopefully this was helpful. And then remember, there are countless books, courses, there's free content out there to motivate you. And I consume a lot of it myself. But if you could use some support and encouragement from real, like-minded human beings, again, I'm just going to remind you to schedule your free call with Lisa. But yeah, you can consume the free stuff, but if you really want to get some direct support, again, post your contact information in the chat or send it as a private message to Lisa here with an email and phone. You can text that information to that number. It's actually a Google Voice business line, so it doesn't come to any of our personal cells. Both Lisa and I check it regularly and can communicate with you that way. So it's 314-246-9516. It's a St. Louis area code. Or you can visit that website, bobbakerinspiration.com/help, which kind of spells out the offer or what's involved in this free, non-stressful call. Lisa's a nice person. It'd be good just to connect with her, right? She's super great. Actually, the other Lisa Sherman here had a call with her just the other day, and she lived to tell about it. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Lisa Sherman.
She has a beautiful name, doesn't she?
She does. She does have a beautiful name.
I just wanted to say thank you very much, Bob. I've been listening to you for years. You've been extremely helpful in my life. I'm just grateful that I get to at least tell you in person right now.
Well, that is awesome.
And the High Vibe Tribe, I'm looking very excited to get in, and I'd love to meet with people and give them hugs.
Yeah.
Right, virtual hugs. I was just never brave enough to get on. But here I am.
Look at this. And you're living to tell about this too.
Amen to that.
That's awesome.
Thank you very much. That's all I really want to say, but I am listening.
Very nice. Very good.
This is the first time I've really gotten brave enough to say hello.
But you're coming through loud and clear, and I applaud you for moving past whatever. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you in the tribe next month. I know you're going to join March 1st when I hear. So, all right. Great. Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Sure. And I remember the thing I was going to say earlier. I know it can be confusing because I've got all this array of things that I can offer. There's my 16 books that I published over the years, and there's various programs and courses. There's the High Vibe Tribe. There's this one-on-one mentorship thing. And so one of the things that we can do with these calls with Lisa is based on once we know like your specific situation, we might be able to offer you a package deal where, based on your budget, we can, okay, well, we can do some mentoring here. We'll give you access to the High Vibe Tribe and this course. And so those are things that you can't put together on your own, just visiting my website. And so that's another thing where you get like a personalized recommendation, or here's how we can help you, and here are the tools that we think would work best for your current situation. So that's kind of like what we're doing with it in the early weeks of offering this, and I'm excited about it. And Lisa's doing a great job with these calls. And so, again, send her that information. And let me check in with, actually, hey, Dee, can I just ask you to unmute? Would you mind, because you've been part of our tribe for a long time. Could you just tell folks briefly your experience with swirling in our world the last few years?
Oh my gosh. Hi guys.
It's Deanne from New York. Not
yes.
New York State. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's been 5 years, 4 years now, something like that. And at the time I was going through an extremely difficult time in my life. which I won't get into the details, but I had hit rock bottom and then that place right below rock bottom. And I started going online looking for affirmations, not even necessarily affirmations, but like things to make me feel like life was worth living for,
Yeah.
truly, sincerely. And nothing was resonating with me. And then all of a sudden, I found Bob's channel on YouTube, and it really, really spoke to me in a way that made me feel that I was not completely alone, even though I was. And then I've said this so many times, I feel like a broken record, but you had that phone number on your one of your affirmations that said, text this number if you'd like
Yeah,
a
you get weekly
messages per
inspiration. Yeah.
week or whatever, which he doesn't offer anymore.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I had to put that to an end. It got a little too costly, but
Yeah.
still it was great for 3 years. I did it.
It was fantastic for
Yeah.
me. It really did like lift my spirits throughout the week. But the really cool thing about it was that, like, usually when you do stuff like that, you get some automated thing and you never really connect personally. But Bob reached out to me right away and started talking. And it made me feel like, wow, this guy doesn't just post videos on YouTube. He is of substance. And you are, and that's why I'm still here. And I love you so much. And
You're you're so
I
sweet.
love everybody that you brought into my life as a result. But my life has changed in so many ways, and I'm still, dealing with a lot of stuff. But if I look at my life comparatively between then and now, it's night and day. And I've taken so many of your courses, and I show up as much as I possibly can because it's like that thing when you were talking about earlier about posting affirmations everywhere.
Hmm.
And I've moved, but I had decals all over my apartment in every single room. And I know every person's different, but for me, I think that it's going to be lifelong for me. I'm going to need to have positive affirmations and reminders that, like, life is not as heavy and dark as I may feel that it is oftentimes, and that there is a lot of light and beauty out there and within me. And you started all of that for me, Bob.
Oh, that's awesome. I love hearing that. And I've also reminded you that you had to do that. You had to be willing to do the work. I was the
Yeah,
catalyst then.
and that's the bit right there. And I've said this so many times, and I have watched so many people come and go over this process. And if it's not working for you, my best advice is to apply it to your daily situations. It's not going to happen if you don't.
Yeah, it's just like eating well or exercising. It's just not like you do it for a week and then you're done. But we've met you like a number of times in person, which is a really great benefit for you being proactive and coming to our events. And then you made, I think, a lot of friends. You got a lot of lifelong friends that you made as a result of being part of our community, and that's so you're building that support. That's awesome.
I wouldn't
So
necessarily call them my friends
no,
at all. They're not my friends.
what
They're
are
my
they?
family.
Family. Oh, I like that even better. You have an extended family now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love. See, I didn't prompt her or
No, you
anything.
didn't. But I'm
She
like,
didn't even.
no, Bob.
I didn't even know you were going to be here, and you didn't even know I was going to call on you. But thank you for saying all those sweet things.
Absolutely.
So
Well,
here,
I mean it from my heart. It's real.
I appreciate you. Yeah, and here's the one thing I want to check in with Mary just to get your. I know you're more new in our world, but before, hang on a thought, Mary. I just want to find out, what you thought of this session and this in general.
There we go.
You are
This was
live.
fantastic. I love this.
Cool.
I found something I do on Sunday mornings that made me recalculate my calendar starting on Sundays. My weeks start on Sundays because I love that opportunity there. And this is wonderful. Since I'm in California, it's not even 8:30 yet. And I've had such a wonderful kickoff to my day, my weekend.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
what's coming ahead, I joined the tribe while we're on the
You
call.
did?
I
Oh,
like to
wow.
kind of experience things and follow my intuition. And I have such a great feeling about all of this. And Lisa has my contact information. So I'm
Wonderful.
really excited. I think it's just so generous of you to look at all the different content and offerings and help people find their way. Because as new to this seeking adventure, it can be overwhelming with everything that's out there for us to kind of sift
Yeah.
through. So,
And even
yeah.
people just look at my stuff. I've heard that, and that's kind of what led to this. Like going, I'm not sure which one of your things I should say, which is going to be best for me. And so this is kind of hopefully a solution for that for people that are confused.
I created my own playlist of Bob Baker affirmations because there's so many, but it's wonderful because what resonates with me may not resonate as much with somebody else. And there are all
Right.
those different options and times of day that you want to be doing things. And yeah, it's terrific to have all those different opportunities.
Very
Thank you
cool.
so much.
Have you heard two things I want to? I know you're new to our world, so you may not know about the full breadth. But have you heard any of my musical affirmations, where I actually sing affirmations?
No,
Oh yeah,
no.
so I'm a longtime musician and singer. I have a playlist of my musical affirmations,
Oh, that would be lovely. I
and
saw the
one,
Throwback Thursday with you from the 80s.
yeah, I'm a big fan of
Yes.
80s music.
Should I be proud of this or embarrassed? I think was the tagline.
Oh, that's right.
I noticed that you play music. My late husband was very into music. He played guitar and we have a lovely collection of beautiful guitars. And
Oh wow.
yeah, I
Yeah,
can definitely appreciate that. So I'll
I'm
look forward to it.
I'm definitely I'm a guitar player myself, so that's awesome. And then my wife and I stream live every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time. We usually do that on her channel, but sometimes do it on my channel if she's out of town. We call it Sunday Inspiration Live. We've been doing that for over
Ooh,
four years.
that
It's
sounds nice.
lot of ways to connect with us. Hopefully, you'll find the way that's best. Stephanie, you want to add anything? I know we've known each other a long time, but did you get anything out of this? What was your takeaway from our talk today?
Well, yes. Well, I'm enjoying all of the question and answer and discussion period here and hearing about people's experience and just getting what I already know, which is like the wide impact that you've had, Bob, in doing, offering so many different modalities of what you do. And we appreciate you. And yes, I absolutely did get some things from today. And I already took my planner and marked the next 3 weeks, 2-hour blocks of time where I'm going to start working towards my goal. I used to do it when I, worked in corporate America. I would block off time that no one could set up a meeting with me because that was my time to catch up on my work. And I just kind of lost track of that since I haven't been in the 9 to 5 workday world. So I need to get back in the habit of prioritizing that time because you're right. My method of, I'll fit it in somewhere, that's not going well. So
yeah, how's that working for you, as Dr. Phil used to say?
That's not working out.
Yeah. That's cool. I need to point out here, I just realized this because I made a quick reference to working in internal communications, I think, when I was talking about deadlines. So it's just this little instance. Stephanie has a unique perspective on me because she worked at the company and in the corporate world, that's where we met. This is the early 2000s. And I think maybe I was somehow on the little internal bulletin board or something. Maybe I posted that I had these books available. I think, is that how we met originally?
That's absolutely how we met. That's right. Yep, same company.
Yeah, she purchased one of my early books while we were working in this corporate place. And then we ended up having lunch a couple of times. And so we were like kindred spirits, creative people in this corporate environment, right? But you knew me, I mean, this was way before. I only had maybe 3-4 books out at the time.
Right. Yeah, you were just getting started at that point. Yeah.
I hadn't even started YouTube. Because I quit that job in 2004 and I got on YouTube in 2006. So that was so you knew me kind of back when. Although I did play in you remember when I played in the company band, the E-Rockers, you remember that? Yeah.
Yes, I remember the E-Rockers very, very well. They were fabulous.
I kept on running into musicians there in the corporate world of people that played in bar bands that I knew from decades earlier. And I said, hey, let's form a company band. And we did. And it was awesome. Some really great players. And so instead of using golf, like a lot of people like will use golf to schmooze with people in the corporate world, I use rock and roll, you know. And I had all these like vice presidents and going, man, how long have you been playing the guitar? I had all these conversations. I don't know. It was a unique way of experiencing corporate life, but I knew that was
I
just
thought it
yeah,
was a great addition to corporate life. It really
yeah,
was. You
cool.
brought a different perspective. So thanks again, Bob, for today too.
You bet. I'm so happy we've stayed in touch all these years, Stephanie. So be well. I
Likewise.
hope to see you in person again soon.
Yes, soon. Absolutely, Bob.
All right, take care. I think I've talked to everybody who's active on the with their video, but I just want to say at least to Megan, Marina, Gabrielle, Rosalie, thank you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the comments there. And I'm going to go ahead and end the recording.